She won't say it, she won't text it, but her gestures, they're saying a lot more than you think. The truth is, when a woman secretly likes you, her actions often whisper. They don't scream. And if you're not grounded, if you're not paying attention, you'll miss it completely. In today's world, where loudness is mistaken for clarity and attention for affection, it's easy to misread signals. But through the lens of Stoicism, we learn to observe, not obsess. We learn to notice without needing. That's where true clarity lives. This video isn't about tricks or tactics. It's about understanding human behavior through a calm, focused mind. We'll explore 11 subtle but powerful gestures that may reveal a woman's hidden interest in you, not from a place of ego, but from awareness. Because as a Stoic man, you're not chasing love. You're aligned with it when it comes. And when it does, it often shows up quietly. If you've ever questioned whether she sees you as more than a friend, or caught yourself wondering about the signs, stay with me. Let's break it all down and learn to see what's always been there, in silence. Sign 1. She initiates eye contact. Often, there's something undeniably powerful about eye contact. It's one of the most primal, non-verbal forms of communication we have as human beings. Before a single word is spoken, the eyes have already spoken volumes. When a woman initiates eye contact, especially if it happens more than once, it can be a subtle but meaningful indication of attraction. And if she holds that gaze just a moment longer than what feels normal, that's when you really want to pay attention. Now let's paint a picture. You're standing at a gathering or in a coffee shop. Out of the corner of your eye, you sense someone looking at you. You turn and she's already looking directly at you. Not in a casual passing glance kind of way, but with awareness. And here's what makes the moment significant. She doesn't flinch. She doesn't quickly divert her eyes like most people do when caught looking. Instead, there's a split-second hold. It's soft, yet certain. That's the moment where interest quietly announces itself. Eye contact is a deeply instinctual act. It creates a sense of connection and intimacy. In fact, psychology has shown that prolonged eye contact can release oxytocin, the bonding hormone, fostering a sense of closeness and familiarity. When a woman is drawn to someone, her eyes naturally seek him out. It's not usually a deliberate plan, it just happens. Her eyes wander in your direction again and again, as if pulled by some invisible thread. But here's where the Stoic approach comes in. As men who strive to live with wisdom and emotional discipline, we must learn not to immediately assign meaning to everything we observe. Just because a woman looks at you doesn't automatically mean she likes you. The Stoic doesn't jump to conclusions based on fleeting signals. He observes with neutrality. He pays attention, but he does not react emotionally. Stoicism teaches us to recognize what's within our control and what's not. You can't control how others look at you. What you can control is how you interpret those looks and whether you allow them to sway your emotions or actions. So when you catch her looking, notice it. Appreciate the moment, but don't inflate it into something bigger than it is without supporting evidence. Now, consider the counterexample. She may make eye contact because you look familiar or because she's lost in thought, not even realizing she's staring. People watch people for all kinds of reasons: curiosity, boredom, or even accidental alignment. If it happens once and never again, it might have meant nothing. But if it keeps happening over time, with intent and warmth in her expression, that's a pattern worth noting. The Stoic man remains grounded. He notices patterns, not moments. Eye contact is a door, but you don't walk through it until you're sure it's open. Sign 2, her feet or body point toward you. Human beings often communicate far more through the body than with words. While we may speak with caution, our bodies speak with instinct. One of the subtlest but most revealing signs of hidden attraction is body orientation, especially where her feet and torso naturally point. If a woman's body consistently angles toward you, even in group settings or casual encounters, that's a quiet but persistent signal that you have her attention. Imagine you're at a networking event. She's chatting with friends, laughing, glass in hand. But if you observe closely, you'll notice that while she's speaking to others, her feet, or even her knees or torso, remain subtly directed toward you. Why? Because the body, unfiltered by the conscious mind, betrays interest. It's as if she's saying, "I'm here with them, but I'm also tuned into you." It's rarely loud or obvious, but it's there if you know how to read it. Even when seated, posture says everything. Does she lean slightly forward when you talk? Does her upper body open up in your direction rather than staying closed or guarded? These small shifts can indicate openness, comfort, and interest, especially if they occur repeatedly and only around you. Now, enter the Stoic perspective. The Stoic man is observant, not impulsive. He doesn't get flattered by every slight lean or forward step. Instead, he pays attention to consistency. The Stoic understands that true clarity comes over time. One instance of body orientation is a moment, but repeated gestures over different days in various environments, that's a pattern. And patterns carry meaning. Stoicism invites us to remain calm in the face of signals, even flattering ones. Just because her body turns toward you doesn't mean she consciously likes you. It could be habit or positioning or coincidence. But the Stoic man doesn't need immediate answers. He gathers information like a wise observer, watching with presence, not emotional investment. Let's consider the counterexample. Say you're sitting next to her on a bench. She's facing you because there's no other way to sit. Her feet point toward you simply because of proximity or social expectation. That alone doesn't say much. The Stoic would look beyond the setup and ask, when she could have turned away, did she stay open? Did she linger when the conversation ended? Does her orientation stay consistent across different scenarios? The answers matter more than the moment. Also, consider this. Attraction, when genuine, creates gravity. People lean toward what pulls them in. If she continuously gravitates toward your space, through her posture, through where she positions herself in a room, through the quiet angle of her knees when sitting beside you, then you may be the emotional magnet in her field of energy. In the end, the Stoic doesn't chase signals, he simply recognizes them. And in the quiet angle of her feet or the alignment of her body, he may glimpse the soft truth her words haven't yet spoken. Sign 3. She laughs genuinely at your jokes. Laughter is one of the most authentic expressions of connection. It's hard to fake consistently and even harder to control. When a woman laughs, truly laughs, at your jokes, especially the ones that aren't objectively hilarious, it may be more than politeness. It's often a sign she enjoys your presence and finds your essence, not just your words, pleasing. Think about it. You crack a dry pun or share a light-hearted observation, nothing too outrageous. Yet she laughs, not a quick, polite chuckle, but a genuine, open laugh that reaches her eyes. Maybe she even leans forward a bit or lightly touches your arm while doing so. These are all clues that go beyond humor. They're small, real-time affirmations of your impact on her emotional state. In psychology, laughter is linked with trust, relaxation, and bonding. When a woman allows herself to laugh freely in your presence, it indicates she feels safe and emotionally open. Attraction often isn't loud or theatrical. It reveals itself in the joy people feel when they're around you. And joy often speaks through laughter. But here's where the Stoic takes a step back. A Stoic man understands that while laughter is beautiful, it can be misleading if not observed over time. He doesn't automatically interpret every giggle as a green light. Instead, he studies the consistency. Is she laughing because of shared emotional energy, or is it situational? Is her laughter reserved for you, or is she just someone who laughs easily with everyone? The Stoic maintains emotional discipline. He appreciates the laughter without letting it inflate his ego. He notes the tone, the context, and the frequency. True Stoicism isn't about ignoring emotion, it's about managing interpretation. The Stoic man knows laughter can be an invitation, but it's not a confirmation. A real-life example: you're in a group, telling a story. Everyone chuckles, but she laughs longer, her eyes staying on you even after the punchline fades. She adds a comment that builds on your joke, subtly keeping the exchange alive. That's not just laughter, it's engagement. That's her wanting to keep the spark glowing a little longer. Now, the counterexample. Maybe she laughs because she's nervous, or because social etiquette demands it. Some women, especially those with empathetic personalities, laugh to ease tension or maintain harmony. Politeness is not attraction, it's courtesy. A Stoic watches for the signs beneath the surface. Does she laugh only when others do, or does she find moments to create private, shared humor between just the two of you? Also, don't be misled by volume. Some people laugh loudly but forget easily. What you're looking for is not the sound of the laugh, but the energy behind it. Is it genuine? Is it warm? Does it happen often, especially when you're around? A Stoic knows this. Laughter is a gift, but it's the pattern, not the punchline, that tells the deeper story. Sign 4. She remembers random details. When someone remembers the little things you say, the offhand comments, your preferences, your childhood. Story about loving mangoes. It's not just a sign of good memory, it's a signal of emotional investment. If a woman recalls your favorite snack, a personal goal you once shared, or even the name of your childhood pet, it often means she's been paying attention, more attention than she needs to. Let's paint a scene. 3 weeks ago, in passing, you mentioned you're trying to cut back on caffeine but love herbal tea. Then one day, she casually surprises you with a cup of chamomile. She shrugs it off, but that gesture speaks volumes. It means she stored that detail somewhere in her mind. Not because she had to, but because she wanted to. Memory, after all, follows value. We retain what matters to us. From a Stoic perspective, this isn't a cue to get overly excited or jump to conclusions. The Stoic reflects, why did this detail return to me, and what pattern does it belong to? Remember, a single act can be accidental, but repeated moments of recall show deliberate care. The Stoic man doesn't react. He recognizes, he observes what kind of things she remembers and how she acts on them. This is important. The details she remembers are often clues about how deeply she sees you. Did she recall that you're an only child? That you once mentioned being anxious before big presentations? If she brings those things up later, not to tease or judge, but to connect, that's emotional awareness. She's creating intimacy by showing you that you are known, not just seen, but the Stoic doesn't take everything at face value. He considers the possibility of coincidence or social strategy. Maybe she's just a naturally observant person. Maybe she treats everyone with the same level of attention. That's why context is everything. Does she go out of her way to follow up on your specific stories? Does she bring up your ambitions, your mood from last week, or how your interview went, when others might have already forgotten? The counterexample matters here too. Someone might repeat a detail simply to gain favor or appear considerate. But surface-level memory fades quickly when there's no emotional weight behind it. A Stoic watches not just what she remembers, but how she uses that memory. Does it lead to acts of kindness, thoughtful questions, or supportive gestures? That's the difference between recall and connection. When someone likes you, they track your world. They might ask how your sibling is doing, follow up on your side hustle, or bring up a book you once mentioned. These things aren't scripted. They're signs of attention that stems from care. For the Stoic, the truth is found in consistency. He doesn't chase the attention, but he notices when it flows naturally and frequently toward him. When she remembers not just what you said, but who you are, That's a gesture words can't fake. Sign 5. She mirrors your energy. Have you ever noticed someone start matching your rhythm, your expressions, or even the way you lean forward during a conversation? That's not just coincidence, it's mirroring. When a woman is subtly syncing her energy with yours, it's often an unconscious signal of connection and attraction. People tend to mirror those they feel emotionally aligned with. Imagine you're talking to her in a relaxed, calm tone. Over time, she begins to adopt that same tone, matching your pacing, your smile, or your posture. You laugh, and she mirrors. The same light-hearted vibe. You lean in slightly, and a few moments later, so does she. These aren't just habits. They're signs that her nervous system feels in tune with yours. Mirroring is psychological rapport in action. It's a nonverbal way of saying, I feel safe with you, or I'm on your wavelength. This behavior often bypasses the conscious mind. It just happens. That's what makes it so telling. From a Stoic point of view, this is where detachment meets observation. The Stoic doesn't get excited too quickly. He remains grounded and asks, is this pattern consistent? Does she mirror everyone, or is it more unique with me? He watches, studies, and stays rooted in logic, not fantasy. Mirroring doesn't just show up in posture or tone. It appears in word choice, tempo, even in shared moods. If you're in a focused, contemplative space and she meets that depth, it's a sign she's entering your emotional space. If you're light and playful and she naturally shifts to meet that energy, it's not just about fitting in, it's about aligning. A real-life scenario. You're telling a story about something meaningful. You notice that as you speak, she adopts a listening posture similar to yours, hands clasped, body leaning forward slightly. She nods when you do. Her expressions follow your emotional beats. These are micro-signals of empathy, interest, and emotional presence. However, a Stoic is not naive. He knows there are counterexamples. Some people mirror to manipulate or to gain favor. In social or professional settings, mirroring can be a tactic, so he watches carefully. Does the mirroring come with emotional investment? Is there sincerity in her attention? Or is it surface-level mimicry? And let's not forget, mirroring also works both ways. Sometimes if you're deeply into someone, you might be mirroring her. A Stoic keeps that in check too. He practices self-awareness and doesn't let desire distort his perception. What sets a true sign apart is emotional continuity. A woman who mirrors you not just once, but often, and especially in private, unforced moments, is likely drawn to your presence, your vibe, your emotional signature. The Stoic takes it all in, not to build false hopes, but to understand human connection with clarity. When energy is reflected back to you without effort or prompting, it speaks louder than any confession and six. She tries to be around you. Sometimes, the biggest signs of affection don't come from words or flirty texts. They don't come from proximity. When a woman likes you, she often finds ways to be in your space. She might not declare it outright, but her presence becomes a consistent thread in your environment. Think about it. Maybe she chooses the seat next to yours in a meeting. Maybe she suddenly signs up for the same volunteer project, gym class, or book club, or she casually walks by your workstation just a little more often than necessary. These aren't loud gestures. They're quiet moves that signal, I want to be near you. Proximity is powerful. Being around someone frequently creates familiarity, and familiarity builds comfort and attachment. A woman who's interested might look for excuses to bump into you, ask for help with something minor, or show up at events where she knows you'll be. It's about orchestrated coincidence. The timing may seem random, but the pattern is intentional. Stoic man doesn't jump to conclusions. He notes, he watches, he thinks, is this a one-time chance encounter, or is there a recurring theme here? The Stoic doesn't chase meaning. He lets meaning reveal itself through repetition. He understands that consistent proximity, when unforced and genuine, is often more telling than a bold confession. Let's say you're at a networking event. Out of a crowd, she finds her way to your side more than once. Later that week, she sends you a message asking if you'll be at the next event. Coincidence? Possibly. But a Stoic will take note of the sequence, the effort, the pattern, not the moment in isolation. Here's the key: effort. People make time and space for what they care about. If she's going out of her way to align her schedule, her path, or her physical location with yours, there's likely an emotional reason. Interest often shows up in logistics. However, the Stoic man also considers the counterexample. Some people are social butterflies. Some are extroverts who simply enjoy being around familiar faces. So he watches for focused proximity, not just being around groups, but being around you. Is she attentive only in groups, or does she create space for one-on-one interaction? That distinction matters. Stoic reflection reminds us to detach from craving and observe with patience. You don't ask, does she like me? You ask, what does her consistent presence suggest? You don't force connection. You stay calm, grounded, and aware. Also, when someone chooses to be around you in moments that matter, your big day, your down day, your boring every day, it's a form of silent affection. She's saying, I like your company. I feel good near you. And that's a form of intimacy words often can't express. To the Stoic, presence is not just a physical thing, it's an emotional investment. If she's there often without having to be, she's probably choosing you more than you realize. Sign 7. She finds reasons to text or call you. When a woman likes you, communication becomes a bridge she's eager to cross. But she might not just text, I like you. Instead, she finds subtle, often indirect ways to reach out, sending that funny meme, asking a random question, or checking in just because. These small digital gestures carry big emotional signals. Think about it. She texts you asking, hey, do you remember the name of that place you mentioned last week? Or she sends a photo of something she saw that reminded her of your conversation. She might call you to ask for your opinion on something she easily could have Googled. These are not accidental moments. They are her way of staying connected, keeping the thread between you alive. The Stoic man observes this with calm clarity. He knows affection doesn't always roar. Sometimes it hums quietly through consistent, meaningful interaction. Rather than rushing to interpret every message as romance, he watches for the frequency, the effort, the thoughtfulness. Does she initiate often? Does she respond quickly? Does she continue conversations beyond necessity? These are the real questions. A practical example, you mention in passing that you love jazz. 2 days later, she sends you a playlist. Or you're feeling down and she randomly checks in saying, just thought I'd see how you're doing. These aren't required behaviors. They come from a place of care. A Stoic notes the why behind the message, not just the content. What's particularly interesting is the creativity behind these interactions. If a woman is looking for reasons to communicate, she'll find them. And when she does, it's often cloaked in casualness to protect her from rejection, so the Stoic doesn't embarrass her efforts or call them out. He receives them with grace and attention, but never with desperation. Still, there's a counterexample to be aware of. Some people are naturally communicative. They might be chatty with everyone, always texting, always checking in, not necessarily out of affection, but habit or personality. That's why the Stoic looks for targeted consistency. Does she reach out to you specifically, even when there's no clear reason to? Does she sustain the thread over time? Also, note how she reacts when you go quiet. If your lack of response leads to follow-up messages or a noticeable change in her tone, it could suggest emotional investment. She's not just trying to chat, she's trying to matter. The Stoic recognizes that communication is a form of proximity in the modern world. When someone seeks it out with intention, it's not just about words, it's about wanting presence, wanting connection. So if you find her initiating texts or calls regularly, especially around moments of your personal importance or emotional vulnerability, take note. It's her way of saying, I want to be part of your day, even in small ways. For the Stoic, this isn't cause for ego inflation. It's a moment for awareness. Attention is a currency. When she spends it freely on you, she's investing more than time. She's investing feeling. Sign 8. She gets jealous. Subtly jealousy, when expressed subtly, can be one of the most telling signs that a woman has deeper feelings for you. Unlike overt jealousy, which can feel like an emotional outburst, subtle jealousy is quieter and often takes the form of small changes in behavior or tone. It might be a slight shift in her body language, a change in her tone when another woman's name comes up, or a sudden, almost imperceptible look of discomfort when she notices someone else vying for your attention. A real-life scenario. You're talking to a friend, and the conversation shifts to a mutual acquaintance, a woman who is very close to you. When you mention this other woman, she seems to pull back slightly, her smile becoming less bright, or her tone shifts just a bit. It's not an overt sign of anger or frustration, but the change is there. A small, almost invisible acknowledgement that her emotional space feels challenged. From a Stoic perspective, jealousy is an emotion that should be examined with care and detachment. The Stoic does not react impulsively to emotional cues, but instead observes them with patience. The reaction is a signal, nothing more, nothing less. A Stoic man remains grounded when confronted with jealousy, recognizing that it's a natural emotion that everyone experiences, but it's also something that can be controlled and tempered through reason. Jealousy is not inherently bad. In fact, it often indicates that someone values you. However, it can easily lead to unhealthy behaviors if left unchecked. So the Stoic watches for patterns. Does she act jealous often? Or was it a one-time thing? Is she jealous because she feels threatened, or because she simply enjoys the connection she has with you and doesn't want to lose it? It's important to note the nuance in jealousy. There's a difference between someone expressing insecurity and someone expressing care. The former can stem from a lack of confidence, while the latter is rooted in an attachment that's growing and needs assurance. A Stoic would examine the why of the jealousy, not just the fact of it. For example, if she shows signs of jealousy when you talk about other women, but she is able to acknowledge and manage it with maturity, that's a more positive sign of attachment. It shows that while she may feel a tinge of jealousy, she is aware of it and doesn't let it drive her actions. However, if her jealousy leads to controlling behavior, passive-aggressive comments, or attempts to sabotage your interactions with other women, the Stoic man would recognize that these are signs of emotional instability and would proceed with caution. The Stoic approach is not to provoke jealousy, but to acknowledge it when it arises and examine it with clarity. It's a sign that she values your attention, but it's also a reminder to maintain emotional equilibrium. The Stoic does not feed jealousy with his own insecurities. Instead, he holds a calm and balanced space, encouraging trust and communication in any connection. Ultimately, when a woman expresses jealousy, especially subtly, it's a sign that she's emotionally invested in the relationship. She may not be saying it outright, but through her actions, she's showing that she cares and that your connection matters to her. The Stoic recognizes this and uses it as an opportunity to reinforce trust, communication, and mutual respect in the relationship. Sign 9. She compliments you in unique ways. Compliments are a common way to express affection, but when a woman genuinely likes you, Her compliments will often go beyond the superficial. Instead of simply saying, "You're handsome" or "You're so smart," she will find ways to praise your personality, character, or the way you handle situations. These compliments feel more personal, more thoughtful, and they reflect a deeper appreciation for who you are as a person, not just how you look or what you do. For example, imagine you're having a deep conversation with her and you explain your thoughts on a difficult topic. She looks at you and says, "I really admire the way you think. You're able to break things down so clearly and with such depth." This is not a typical surface-level compliment. It acknowledges something more profound: your intellect, your ability to communicate, and your values. A Stoic man takes note of these types of compliments, but he doesn't let them inflate his ego. He remains grounded and reflects on the sincerity of the compliment. A Stoic understands that such compliments are usually a reflection of admiration or affection, but they are not the reason for seeking validation. He remains detached from the need for external praise and focuses on the intrinsic value of the compliment itself. One key point to remember is that compliments that go beyond the obvious indicate that a woman is truly paying attention to you, not just to the way you look, but to the subtler aspects of who you are. She notices how you treat others, how you handle challenges, and what your values are. Compliments like, "I like how patient you are with people," or "You have a really calming presence," reflect an emotional connection that goes deeper than surface-level attraction. The Stoic perspective here is to appreciate the compliment without becoming attached to it. While it's natural to feel good when someone praises you, the Stoic man understands that compliments are fleeting and they do not define his worth. Instead, he uses them as opportunities for self-reflection. Is this something I value in myself? Is this a quality I want to continue nurturing? However, there's a counterexample to keep in mind. Some people are naturally generous with compliments, and they may offer praise to many people without attaching any deeper meaning to it. It's important to distinguish between compliments that feel automatic and those that feel personal. Does she offer thoughtful compliments that reflect her genuine observation of your character, or is she simply being polite? The Stoic man doesn't jump to conclusions based on one compliment. Instead, he looks for patterns. Does she offer these types of compliments consistently over time? Additionally, the Stoic does not become consumed by a desire to receive compliments. Instead, he focuses on his actions, his intentions, and the values he upholds. Compliments are merely external acknowledgments of his inner qualities, but they do not define his self-worth. Ultimately, when a woman offers you compliments that go beyond the superficial, it's a clear sign that she values you for who you are, not just for what you do or how you look. She's paying attention to the details, the nuances, and the traits that make you unique. A Stoic recognizes this and appreciates it without allowing it to cloud his sense of self. He remains humble, grounded, and focused on his own growth, knowing that the true measure of his character is not in the compliments he receives, but in how he lives his life. Sign 10. Her friends tease her around you. When a woman likes you, her friends often play a subtle yet significant role in expressing that affection. One of the most telling signs is when her friends start teasing her or acting differently around you. This isn't just playful banter, it's often a social signal, one that can give you a glimpse into how she feels. Whether it's a shy giggle, a wink, or a playful comment like, "We all know who's been on her mind lately." These teasing moments are often more revealing than we realize. For example, let's say you're hanging out in a group with her and a few of her friends. She's talking to you, and her friends exchange knowing glances, laughing softly, or making jokes about how often you two hang out. It's not overtly embarrassing, but there's a hint of playfulness in the air. You might notice her blushing, or rolling her eyes as if trying to brush it off, but the slight discomfort only adds weight to the underlying truth. She's likely invested in the connection, and her friends see it. From a Stoic perspective, this situation should be observed with awareness, not immediate action. The Stoic man doesn't rush to conclusions or let social teasing affect his behavior. He recognizes that the teasing is a reflection of affection, not only from the woman herself, but also from the people around her. Her friends are often a mirror, reflecting back what they see in the dynamic between you. If they're teasing her around you, it means they've noticed something too. They've picked up on the attraction, and they're acknowledging it in a light-hearted way. Stoics value social harmony, and in this context, the playful teasing is part of that social dance. Rather than feeling uncomfortable or rushing to defend himself, the Stoic remains composed. He doesn't let the situation manipulate him into seeking validation from the group. He recognizes that their teasing isn't about him. It's about the connection between him and the woman he's engaging with. However, there's a counterexample to be aware of. Sometimes friends tease out of a sense of insecurity or discomfort, especially when they're not sure how to handle romantic dynamics within their social group. If the teasing feels mean-spirited, or if it's intended to create discomfort or embarrassment, it's important to take a step back and reassess the situation. The Stoic man would watch carefully for signs that the teasing crosses a line into unhealthy behavior, whether from the friends or from the woman herself. The Stoic understands that true affection is not about seeking attention or validation in front of others. He doesn't engage in behavior that feeds into social games or manipulative dynamics. Instead, he remains centered and calm, recognizing that social interactions are just that, interactions. He doesn't let external circumstances sway his emotional state or cause him to act out of character. In a situation where her friends are teasing her around you, the Stoic would take it as a sign of mutual interest, but he would not overanalyze it. He remains grounded in his actions, choosing to stay true to his own values, regardless of the social dynamics at play. He doesn't play into the teasing or respond with boastfulness. Instead, he appreciates it for what it is, a sign that the connection is real and noticed by others. Sign 11. She supports you. Support is one of the most powerful signs that a woman secretly likes you. It's not always about grand gestures or overt actions, but rather the subtle, consistent ways she shows up for you when it matters most. Whether she's there to encourage you during a challenging project, to listen when you need to vent, or to celebrate your successes, her support is a reflection of her emotional investment in you. When a woman likes you, she invests in your well-being and your success, often without expecting anything in return. For instance, imagine you're working on a big project or initiative, and she takes the time to check in on you. Maybe she sends you a message saying, "How's the project going? Is there anything I can help with?" Or perhaps she notices you're stressed and brings you a coffee just to lighten the mood. These actions, though seemingly small, carry a lot of weight. They show that she's paying attention to your needs, that she cares about your success, and that she wants to be part of your journey. A Stoic man understands that true support is not about seeking validation or praise from others. It's about mutual respect and caring for each other's growth. When a woman supports you, the Stoic does not take it as a means to boost his ego. Instead, he views her support as a reflection of her values and her understanding of the importance of partnership and collaboration. In turn, he remains focused on his own development and responsibilities, understanding that his own strength and achievements are not dependent on others' praise. The Stoic perspective also reminds us that support isn't always loud or visible. It's often quiet and unspoken. The Stoic man would be careful not to mistake attention for genuine support. If a woman is constantly offering help, but with an ulterior motive, or if her support feels conditional, it could be a sign of manipulation or dependency, rather than true affection. The Stoic man remains vigilant and self-aware, looking for consistency in the support. Does she offer help out of genuine care, or is there an expectation attached? Furthermore, the Stoic approach to receiving support is rooted in humility. A Stoic man acknowledges the support without becoming dependent on it. He appreciates the kindness, but he does not let it define his self-worth. He understands that he is responsible for his own growth and progress, and while support is welcomed, it is not a requirement for him to feel validated. The Stoic man is internally resilient and knows that he must cultivate his own strength and virtues, regardless of the external help he receives. In relationships, mutual support is a crucial component of emotional intimacy. When a woman offers consistent support, whether through acts of kindness, emotional encouragement, or practical help, it's a clear sign that she values the relationship and wants to contribute to your success and well-being. For a Stoic, this support is viewed with gratitude, but without attachment. He recognizes it as a natural part of healthy relationships and uses it as an opportunity for growth, reflection, and to deepen the connection between him and the woman. Ultimately, when a woman supports you, it's a sign that she's emotionally invested. She cares about your goals, your challenges, and your successes, and she wants to see you thrive. The Stoic man appreciates this support with grace and humility, understanding that while external help is valuable, true strength comes from within. Not every gesture a woman makes is a sign of romantic interest. Some behaviors, while they might seem like signs of affection, can actually be misleading. It's important to discern between genuine attraction and friendly or cultural behavior, which is where the Stoic approach to observation comes into play. For instance, a woman who is naturally bubbly or extremely friendly with everyone might give off signals that she's interested in you, laughing at your jokes, making prolonged eye contact or touching your arm. But if she does this with others as well, it might just be her natural way of interacting. She could be a warm, engaging person who treats everyone with kindness. In these cases, it's vital to assess the context. Is she only acting this way with you, or does she treat everyone the same? Another example is when a woman engages in friendly conversation or offers compliments. She might be offering these behaviors as a sign of politeness or general kindness, rather than signaling romantic interest. It's easy to misinterpret her actions as personal, but the key is to watch for consistency over time. The Stoic perspective is to observe patterns, not isolated moments. Rather than jumping to conclusions after one gesture, take a step back and reflect on the overall dynamic. A Stoic man remains grounded, observing without rushing to interpret behavior through the lens of desire or attachment. He focuses on consistency, as true affection tends to show itself through repeated actions that reflect deeper emotional investment. Ultimately, the Stoic man remains calm and focused, letting the behavior unfold naturally, without forcing conclusions or making assumptions based on isolated moments of interaction. When it comes to interpreting signs of interest from a woman, the Stoic approach is grounded in composure and self-awareness. The key to responding effectively is to avoid assuming that every gesture, no matter how subtle, equates to romantic love. Misinterpretation can lead to building expectations that may not be realistic or reciprocated. First and foremost, don't assume interest is love. The woman's behavior, no matter how suggestive, may not reflect deep romantic feelings. It could be driven by politeness, friendliness, or cultural norms. By staying mindful of this, you prevent your emotions from running away with assumptions and avoid building hopes based on uncertainty. Don't build expectations on possibility. This is a critical Stoic principle. While it's natural to hope for a connection, a Stoic man knows that expectations lead to attachment, which can cloud judgment and weaken emotional resilience. Instead, build strength within yourself, grounded in your own virtues. Whether she reciprocates your feelings or not, your sense of self-worth is not dependent on her behavior. If you feel a genuine attraction and would like to express it, do so calmly, without pressure or grand expectations. If you like her, calmly express it, but do so with humility and without expectation of reciprocation. Let your words be a reflection of your true self, not a plea for validation. On the other hand, if you do not feel the same way, stay respectful and grounded. A Stoic would respond with kindness and clarity, without leading her on or giving false hope. Ultimately, the Stoic does not need external validation. He remains centered, calm, and focused on his own development, understanding that his emotional balance is independent of others' responses. As we wrap up today's video, let's recap the key takeaway. It's not about decoding women, it's about mastering awareness and controlling your reaction. Stoicism teaches us that we can't control others' behaviors or their emotions, but we can control how we respond. By staying grounded and present, we give ourselves the freedom to act with clarity, regardless of what others do. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Have you noticed any of these signs? Maybe you've seen them in a woman you're interested in, or perhaps you've noticed these gestures in your relationships. Let's talk about it below. Share your experiences or thoughts, whether you agree, disagree, or have additional signs. To add, if you found this video insightful, don't forget to hit that like button, share it with someone who could benefit from this wisdom, and comment with your thoughts. Subscribe for more on Stoicism, emotional intelligence, and mastering modern relationships. Make sure to hit the notification bell so you never miss a new video. I'll leave you with this timeless Stoic quote from Marcus Aurelius, paraphrased: "If someone loves you, you'll feel it. If not, don't make them." This speaks to the importance of not forcing affection or validation. True love and connection cannot be coerced. It's something that flows naturally when both people are aligned. Thank you for watching, and until next time, stay centered, stay grounded,